some really eye-popping video of what the New Orleans police superintendent calls a life and death situation for one of her officers. The NOPD today released a set of videos of what turned out to be a deadly encounter that started in a Walmart parking lot.
Here's San Trung with more on what the videos show.
The first video starts off normal enough. It's from a surveillance camera at the Walmart on Chapatula Street, where New Orleans police officers Rachel Wiley and Michael Salahuddin were working an off-duty security detail. Roughly 2 weeks ago, around 10:30 a.m., they respond to a car where the driver, Gregory Williams, is suspected of a drug overdose.
And there you could see hypodermic needles in plain view, so they knew they were probably looking at an overdose situation. And as our officers are trained, they were trying to save his life. So they administered 2 doses of Narcan.
Pay attention to the top right corner of your screen. Police Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick says when Williams regains consciousness, he manages to drive off, hitting a woman, and speeds out of the parking lot, all while Officer Wiley is hanging on the driver's side door. Right behind, Officer Salahuddin chases after them. The car then turns onto Rousseau Street, where police say Officer Wiley has to make a critical decision.
She is in a life and death situation. You're going to see how significant that situation is, and that is clearly a life or death situation. And she pulled her gun, and she did shoot twice, but she hit once. She hit Williams one time.
As the car heads into oncoming traffic, Officer Wiley becomes dislodged. An instant later, the car sideswipes a truck. Here's another view. You can see Wiley separating from the car right before it hits the truck.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the video here. I'm reacting to this. They said this happened about 2 weeks ago, where it was a deadly officer involved shooting that happened in New Orleans or in that area, and apparently the 2 off-duty officers, or they were doing a security at Walmart at the time, and then they discovered a guy who they seen needles and stuff, and he was dealing with an apparent overdose. They went over, they administered Narcan to bring the person back to, and this person cranked up their car and backed out, and one of the officers was still attached to the car, like in the door. As you can see from the clip here, she was hanging onto the door. She managed to pull her firearm and fire 2 shots, one of them striking the driver. And she had to make a life and death decision as far as dislodging herself from that car, which they are saying that she sustained injuries, so hopefully she's able to recover. But this is kind of again one of those things where you have to appreciate law enforcement officers, or anyone who's willing to stick their necks out there and risk their lives in order to try to help and protect others, because the driver, they're saying he crashed a short while after this, but for these officers who have families and want to return home to their families, man, they risk their lives every day. And you see over here on the right, the other officer who was helping also with the security detail chasing after this car. I'm just gonna let this play out again here. They was right here on the corner, and
It's out of the parking lot, all while Officer Wiley is hanging on the driver's side door.
She's still hanging
right behind officers,
and that's a stop sign. No stopping. So a car could have been coming the opposite way. Luckily a car wasn't coming the opposite way, west of them, to where it would have hit them.
Salahuddin chases after them. The car then turns onto Rousseau Street, where police say Officer Wiley has to make a critical decision.
She is in a life and death situation. You're going to see how significant that situation is, and that is clearly a life or death situation. And she pulled her gun, and she did shoot twice, but she hit once. She hit Williams one time.
As the car heads into oncoming traffic, Officer Wiley becomes dislodged. An instant later, the car sideswipes a truck. Here's another view. You can see Wiley separating from the car right before it hits the truck, where she lays injured.
Williams, however, continues down the road. After having been shot, he's been shot between that spot where he's pulled out, and Officer Wiley falls out of that vehicle.
The car then slams head-on into another car parked nearby. Williams eventually dies. Officer Wiley suffered multiple injuries. The end to an unpredictable chain of events.
They come out to try to save a man's life, and indeed, in turn, he tries to kill one of our officers.
Do you see that police drone? Getting an overhead view of everything that's going on. This is how, the future is going to look.
Officers.
They have drones already, surveying certain areas and, doing a lot of the recon work. Right now they have drones that are being deployed. The same way helicopters would be, the bird's eye view, the bird in the sky type of thing. They have drones in the sky now. This is really one of my first times actually seeing it. As far as trying to get an overview of the crash scene and the crime scene, and they're going to use all this data to analyze and reconstruct the scene and stuff like that. But that's what the future looks like. But let's look at this car as it hit. This is the driver who is shot, and as it hits this parked car. First of all, this could have been bad because this truck was moving.
You can see Wiley separating from the car right before it hits the truck, where she lays injured. You can see
this
later,
truck was
the car
this truck was
as the car
in
heads
motion.
into oncoming traffic, Officer Wiley.
You see that truck was in motion. Could have been real bad for that officer. If this person didn't have the awareness to just stop, he could have easily ran over that officer as she was dislodging from that car.
He becomes dislodged. An instant later, the car sideswipes a truck. Here's another view. You can see Wiley separating from the car right before it hits the truck, where she lays injured.
Williams, however, continues down the road. After having been shot, he's been shot between that spot where he's pulled out, and Officer Wiley falls out of that vehicle.
The car then slams head-on into another car.
That vehicle.
The car then slams head-on into another car parked nearby.
It knocked the car back several feet, man. The impact was just outrageous. And at that point, man, he might have lost consciousness from being shot, and he, had just been administered Narcan from an apparent overdose, and hit head on in what looks like a Jeep or some type of SUV, but just this complete damage to both cars, instant damage. The whole front of the car that hit the car is totaled, and then as well as the truck, man, just straight totaled. And my question is, who pays for the person's car that was parked there? Like, who is gonna be responsible for paying for that? Because that car is at a total loss. You won't be able to do anything as far as trying to fix that car. I mean, you can go through a whole bunch of restoration, because of course the back is gonna be intact, but man, for the most part, man, whoever owns their car, they might have owed something on that car, and they probably just want to just say, man, I'd just rather get me something brand new or something. So
Williams eventually dies. Officer Wiley suffered multiple injuries. The end to an unpredictable chain of events.
They come out to try to save a man's life, and indeed, in turn, he tries to kill one of our officers. And that's just unfortunate, and I'm sorry again for the family, but these officers need to be defended, and fortunately, our community does see them, I think, as heroes.
The police chief says the innocent bystander who was hit in the parking lot is recovering, as is Officer Wiley. There's also footage from the officer's body-worn cameras, but the chief says they're withholding that video to honor a request from the family of Gregory Williams, the driver who was shot and killed. Officer Wiley has been reassigned, which is standard procedures in these types of cases, but the police chief says her actions that day were nothing short of heroic. Liz?
Also today, some really eye-popping video of what the New Orleans police...
So, of course, condolences to the family of the guy who lost their lives, man. The guy that was the driver there. Definitely don't want to be insensitive to a family of a person who lost their lives. But the officers, again, they was out there trying to, like, this guy was clearly showing signs that he was overdosing. They seen drug paraphernalia in the car. They administered Narcan. Brought the guy back too. He might have been shot and spooked and not really aware why the officers was there. He put his car into motion. The officer was on lodged into the car, on the car, holding on. And that set off everything that happened. I mean, if nobody would have came out there, this guy probably would have died from an overdose in the Walmart parking lot. That's the sad part about it. And then the other sad part is that these officers, this female officer, I think her name was Officer Wiley. Let me see.
He does see them, I think.
Officer Wiley.
Yeah,
There's
Officer
also
Wiley. Again, she put her life on the line in this whole situation, because this could have definitely, I pointed out multiple times within this video where like right here when they took that left, a car could have been coming and just smacked them right there on the driver's side door, and she would have been killed or very severely injured. And even a truck that was coming north while they was traveling south, if that driver didn't have the awareness, they was like looking into their phone or anything like that, and wasn't paying attention, he could have crushed her as she dislodged herself from the car. The driver could have had a gun and sent shots at her. It's a lot of different things that could have happened, but again, police work and being military and ICE, Border Patrol, all these different positions and agencies, you go to work every day not knowing if you're going to return home, and without them, there would be chaos in the streets. And, a lot of people don't really respect their positions and what they do, but again, without them, man, it would be, back to the Wild Wild West days, where you gotta be the one that's quick to the draw type of thing, and any and everything goes. So, just wanted to cover this because I saw it, it was pretty interesting. But if you do like my content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.